Welcome back to The Lost Taste, where forgotten dishes and royal dining secrets return to life. Today we step into the grand halls of Britain's history, where kings and queens ruled empires, shaped culture, and yes, sat down to dinner. From lavish banquets dripping with game and wine to humble puddings and simple roasts, each monarch's favorite food tells us something deeply human about their time, their tastes, their temperaments, their world. These are not just royal meals, they're windows into the soul of a nation. So polish the silver, pour yourself a cup of tea, and don't forget to subscribe to The Lost Taste as we uncover the favorite foods of every British monarch since 1707. Queen Anne reigned 1707-1714. Queen Anne's table was a reflection of power, privilege, and indulgence. Her reign marked the early years of the United Kingdom, and her feasts were legendary for their abundance. Anne adored grand, multi-course banquets that overflowed with roasted venison, pheasant, partridge, and rich desserts. She particularly loved sweet puddings, tarts, and elaborate sugar sculptures that crowned the royal table. The Queen's sweet tooth was famous: cakes soaked in brandy, creams flavored with rosewater, and pastries stuffed with jam were her greatest pleasures. Though plagued by poor health, she believed in the healing power of hearty food. For Queen Anne, dining was not merely nourishment, it was ceremony, and her royal table set the tone for a century of opulent eating. King George I reigned 1714 to 1727. When George I arrived from Hanover, he brought Germany's heavy, meaty cuisine with him and little patience for bland English fare. He installed German chefs at his court and filled his menus with hearty roasts, sausages, fish, and dumplings. His favorite dish was sturgeon, a fatty, rich fish often baked whole and served with butter and herbs. He also loved pork and thick puddings made with sweat, fruit, and cream. English courtiers mocked his foreign tastes, but the king didn't care. He missed home. His dinners, thick with smoke and spice, smelled more of Hanover than of London, proof that even kings feel homesick at the table. King George II reigned 1727 to 1760. George II's public banquets were extravagant, serving songbirds, exotic meats, and puddings of every shape. But privately, he preferred comfort over grandeur. His two favorite foods were mashed potatoes and apple dumplings, simple, hearty, and deeply English. Perhaps it was nostalgia for his mother's cooking, or maybe the simplicity offered relief from royal excess. The king's love of these plain dishes shows how even the mighty crave the familiar. In his private chambers, away from politics and pomp, George II found peace in the humble combination of buttery potatoes and warm, spiced apples. King George III reigned 1760-1820. George III, often remembered for his struggles with mental health, was also known for his modesty and his love of plain English food. He famously rejected the extravagant French cuisine popular in Europe at the time. His favorite dish? Bread and butter pudding, made from stale bread soaked in milk, eggs, and sugar, then baked with raisins. It was the perfect example of thrift and comfort. He also enjoyed simple roasts and boiled vegetables, always eaten at regular hours. Nicknamed Farmer George, he admired rural simplicity and English tradition. His table reflected that spirit: no luxuries, just honest food. King George IV reigned 1820-1830. If George III was humble, his son George IV was the opposite, the very picture of indulgence. Famous for his lavish banquets and enormous appetite, he loved French cuisine and fine wines. But his true comfort food was as British as it gets: steak and kidney pie. Beneath his silk waistcoats and endless courses of foie gras, he still craved the savory satisfaction of flaky pastry filled with tender beef, kidney, and gravy. It was rich, robust, and unapologetically indulgent, much like the king himself. His excesses became legendary, but so did his appreciation for good food. In many ways, George IV embodied Britain's culinary duality. Sophistication served alongside hearty tradition. King William IV reigned 1830-1837. Known as the Sailor King, William IV brought the straightforward sensibility of a naval officer to the royal kitchen. He preferred simple, hearty meals that reminded him of his days at sea, none more than mutton chops. Grilled over an open flame and served with vegetables or mustard, mutton chops were the very essence of British working-man fare. William's taste for uncomplicated food made him a man of the people. His dinners were shorter, his menus smaller, and his preference for plain food endeared him to many who saw in him a break from the decadence of past kings. Queen Victoria, reigned 1837–1901. Queen Victoria's reign defined an era, and so did her appetite. She adored the hearty simplicity of British cooking, favoring dishes like roast mutton and Scotch broth, a rich soup made from barley, lamb, and root vegetables. She had an enormous appetite and often ate quickly, famously finishing her meals before her guests. Though she enjoyed the finer things, her heart belonged to the foods of Balmoral, her beloved Scottish estate. There she dined on game, salmon, and stews that spoke of the rugged Highlands. Her tastes reflected her personality, disciplined, loyal, and deeply British. King Edward VII, reigned 1901–1910. King Edward VII, Victoria's eldest son, inherited his mother's love of food and multiplied it. A man of great charm and even greater appetite, Edward's dining habits were legendary. His favorite meal was roast beef with horseradish, the quintessential British dinner. He loved rich gravies, oysters, and champagne, and was known to host dinners that lasted hours with multiple courses and endless conversation. Yet despite his indulgence, his devotion to roast beef never faded. It was the taste of England itself, powerful, traditional, and satisfying. King George V, reigned 1910–1936. George V was the very image of discipline and tradition, and his table reflected that. He disliked foreign dishes and avoided luxury for luxury's sake. His favorite meal was roast lamb with Yorkshire pudding, simple, perfectly cooked, and deeply British. He dined at precisely the same time every day, with menus planned weeks in advance. His meals were about order and consistency, a reflection of the man himself. For George V, food was not about pleasure. It was about maintaining the rhythm of duty and respectability. King Edward VIII, reigned 1936. King Edward VIII's reign was brief, but his influence on taste was modern. During his travels and time in America with Wallace Simpson, he developed a fondness for light, contemporary dishes, particularly the shrimp cocktail. It was elegant, refreshing, and fashionable, served in glass cups with tangy sauce. It reflected his cosmopolitan style. Less roast and pudding, more modern elegance. Edward's diet mirrored his worldview, lighter, freer, and distinctly American-influenced, marking the first time a British monarch's tastes leaned across the Atlantic. King George II, reigned 1936–1952. The Second World War defined George VI's reign, and rationing shaped his table. Known for his humility and solidarity with the British public, he ate much the same as his people did. Plain, hearty meals that could be made from limited ingredients. His favorite dish was roast lamb with mint sauce, a Sunday staple that symbolized comfort and tradition in hard times. During wartime, the royal family's meals were simple, soups, stews, and puddings, yet deeply symbolic. By eating as the nation ate, the king earned the people's respect. Queen Elizabeth II, reigned 1952–2022. For 70 years, Queen Elizabeth II remained a symbol of constancy, and so were her tastes. Her favorite meal was grilled Dover sole served with spinach or courgettes, simple, elegant, and perfectly balanced. She preferred small portions and seasonal ingredients, avoiding rich sauces or spices. Breakfast was usually cereal or toast, lunch light, and dinner refined but unpretentious. Her sweet indulgence: chocolate, especially dark chocolate biscuits. The Queen's disciplined diet reflected her work ethic, modest, practical, but never dull. Her food was an extension of her reign, precise, composed, and timeless. King Charles III, reigning 2022 to present. King Charles III is a monarch defined by modern values, sustainability, organic farming, and environmental awareness. His favorite meal, wild mushroom risotto, perfectly captures his philosophy. Made with mushrooms foraged from Balmoral and seasoned with herbs from his own gardens. It's a dish rooted in the earth. He avoids processed foods and prefers organic local produce. Charles's meals often feature game, fresh vegetables, and simple grains. His approach to food mirrors his vision for the monarchy, grounded, thoughtful, and forward-looking. Where past kings sought indulgence, Charles seeks balance. His kitchen is not just a place of pleasure, but of principle. Midway engagement question. Across 3 centuries of British history, Royal tastes have evolved from excess to elegance, from banquets of venison to bowls of risotto. Which royal meal would you try if you could dine with a king or queen for one night? Would you feast with George IV on steak and kidney pie, or share a bowl of mushroom risotto with King Charles III? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to The Lost Taste for more stories about food that shaped the world. Culinary reflection across centuries. From Queen Anne's sugar-soaked desserts to Elizabeth II's grilled fish, Britain's monarchs have mirrored their eras through food. The journey from gluttony to restraint, from imported luxuries to local produce tells a larger story. The evolution of British identity itself. Each royal table reflected its time. The early Georgian courts feasting on power and excess, the Victorians finding virtue in simplicity, the modern royals embracing sustainability and health. Food has always been political, and royal meals were no exception. They were displays of taste, power, and national pride, influencing everything from aristocratic menus to the Sunday dinners of ordinary Britons. Conclusion. And there you have it. 3 centuries of royal appetites, from pudding to risotto, from banquets to balance. These meals weren't just indulgences. They were reflections of leadership, tradition, and change. Food connects every monarch to their people, whether it's George VI eating rations during war, or Charles III championing organic farming in an age of climate concern. Through every course of history, one truth remains. To dine is to rule, but to taste is to understand. If you enjoyed this royal feast through time, don't forget to subscribe to The Lost Taste, give this video a royal thumbs up, and tell us in the comments which monarch's favorite dish you'd bring back to your table. Because here on The Lost Taste, every bite of history tells a story, and some flavors deserve to reign forever.